Hi, I'm Debbie, and today we will be working on Block 5 of the London Blues Block of the Month, and this one is called the Wedgewood Block. The techniques that we will be using are half square triangles, square and a square, your hourglass block as well. We will be using fabrics 1, 2, 4, 6, and 11. The first technique we're going to use, and we're going to use this in our corner blocks, is our half square triangles. Take your 2 squares that we are going to use, put them right sides together, and we are going to draw a line diagonally, and then we're going to sew a 1/4 of an inch on either side. Once we do that, we are going to cut them apart. Now we're going to take our half square triangle. It does need to be trimmed down, and I'm going to press it to the light. And again, I like to use finger pressing. Less distortion than if you try to press with the iron. Okay, so we need to trim it down, and what we do is I have diagonal lines that I will put right along my diagonal, and then I'm going to trim. And then trim again. Okay, and then I'm going to take it around the other side, and again, trim off. Okay, like so. So now we have our half square triangle trimmed to the correct size. We will need 2 half square triangles plus 2 other squares to complete our corner block. And this is very important that it is laid out correctly. And so follow the directions that you have. You want your square, and then you want the dark going in toward the middle. So just take, and when I sew these together, I press them to the square. That way when you put them together, the seams will nest, and then you can sew straight across. Okay? A nice trick that I have found over the years was no matter which way you press these seams, it's bulky, unless you take and do a little twist. You put thumb on one side, thumb on the other, and then you twist. What happens is you are breaking some of your threads and having a little square 4 patch in the middle. Then I can take and I can press this way, this way, and then you have such a nice flat center with no block, no bump. Okay? Now we'll be constructing our middle block, which is using our square and square technique. First thing you want to do is take 2 of your triangles and sew them on either side of your center block. Once you sew them, then you are going to press them back away from your center block. Then we are going to add our other 2, and what I'm doing is I'm pressing a little bit in the center to find the center mark. I am going to do the same thing with this. And then I'm going to line it up, pin it, and then sew my quarter seam. I'm going to do this on both sides. Again, I'm going to press away from my block. Okay, and now we are ready to trim this. When you trim, oh, you're so good. Okay. I want to trim so that I have 1/4 inch on either side, and this ruler is the size that I want to trim it to. And this is very helpful if you have the correct ruler to use. That way you're not guessing which side it is. You can use a bigger ruler, but I do prefer this method. Once I have it situated, then I'm going to trim and trim. And then I'm going to reposition. One thing that helps tremendously when you're doing something like this, if you have a rotating mat, those are wonderful in this situation. That way you don't have to keep moving it around. Okay. And so now we have our center block. Okay. The last piece of our puzzle is going to be our hourglass block. And we're going to start with our 2 big squares. We have a light and we have this one. And we also have a dark and the same. What you're going to do is, again, draw a line diagonally. From corner to corner, and then we're going to sew 1/4 inch on either side. I'm going to take and I'm going to press this to the light, like so. I am going to repeat it, the same thing with this block, only this time I am actually going to press this to the dark. Then I'm going to take and I'm going to nest it. And you can feel when you nest something, you have those seams up against each other. And I'm going to make sure that they are nested all the way up through there. Then I'm going to take and could do it a little bit better. I'm going to take and I'm going to sew. I'm going to first draw my sewing line. And then I'm going to sew 1/4 inch on either side of this line. Then I'm going to cut it. And when I cut it, I'm going to end up with this shape. Okay? Again, these do need to be trimmed, but before I trim them, I'm going to use the trick that I showed you with sewing the half square triangle unit together, the 4-patch together. Thumb here, and I'm going to twist to break those threads. That will give me a very nice flat center in order to work. Okay? To trim it, I'm going to take my ruler. Again, this one is the correct size. And I have it lined up. And so I'm going to take and I'm going to trim. I like this ruler because it has a diagonal on either side. And again, I'm going to turn this around to make it a little easier to cut. Rotary, your revolving mats do help with something like this. Okay, so now we have this shape. That'll fit into there. Okay, and then this shape, once trimmed down, will again fit into there, so that you have your darks and then the other darks coming out.